All right, so we're moving on now to another very important point to discuss in our first module, which has to do with homework. I would like you to take some time to look at the pictures, the photographs that you have on the screen, and try to work out, as you are looking at them, what's going on in each of those photographs. They are all related to homework, and they are all quite real, I would say. There is homework to be dealt with, but nobody's having a good time with that homework. The students are definitely not having a good time, nor are the families having a good time with homework. I'm not saying that homework is meant to be fun or a moment of joy, but definitely it shouldn't be a stressful moment. And particularly in this quarantine, we are all emotionally going through rough times. Students are going through rough times and families as well. So today we are going to talk about homework because in quarantine, we will be dealing with a lot of remote homework. So this is exactly what I think we need to avoid. Having a stressed student who doesn't know what to do, who doesn't know what's expected from him, from her, and parents who do not know how to help. Or maybe parents who are also super stressed with coping with their work remotely. So I think it's quite important that we can discuss together what homework is meant for and which are the qualities of effective homework. So when talking about effective homework, I think the first thing we need to remember is that homework needs to have a very clear purpose. And that very clear purpose has to be very clear for you. It has to be very clear for the students, and it has to be very clear for parents as well. Because in these times, and the younger the students are, the more possible this is that parents might want help. So a very clear purpose for everybody. Homework needs to be an opportunity for success. Homework is meant to make students feel confident, not the opposite. Homework cannot be sent home so that parents feel frustrated because they see the kids frustrated with what they cannot do. Effective homework makes quality the focus and not quantity. It's not about sending pages and pages. It might be short, sweet, but high quality. Effective homework extends, reinforces, and previews content. And I want you to focus on these words: extend, reinforce, and preview. It's really very important, and we are going to address this deeply in this module and the next ones. We are getting to one of the most important characteristics of effective homework now. When I say that work is done independently or without appropriate support. So work is done independently. Students can cope with the homework. And this is related to this opportunity for success we were mentioning before. Effective homework needs to make students feel that they own the homework. It's mine, it's my learning, my pace, my way of going about it. Effective homework needs feedback, something that we will be exploring later on. Feedback so that students can make progress in future tasks. And something we must not forget is that homework needs to be kid-friendly. If kids feel confident, if kids feel that they can do it autonomously, if they can even tell their parents, you know what, Mom, you know what, Dad, I can cope with this, we're going to have the opposite of the photographs we discussed before. Something else to mention about homework is that homework should have a clear purpose, and students need to understand the purpose of that activity. They need to understand why they are learning what they are learning and why they are doing what they are doing. And as I mentioned before, it's really very important that families who are there to support their kids also see the purpose. And as I also said before, the younger the students are, the more possible it is that parents will help and accompany the kids do the homework. Homework is an extension of your instruction. And in these quarantine times, more than ever, homework is not anymore an extension of your instruction. Homework in this new reality has become your instruction. Have you stopped to think about that? If you don't have the possibility to give the virtual class, or if you have no possibility to record a video of yourself teaching something, it is through that homework that you will also be instructing. Food for thought and something to really pay attention to. Which is one of the biggest mistakes? Well, one of the biggest mistakes is just giving the homework and saying, okay, help yourselves. We don't have to just give homework. We have to explain why we are assigning this homework, and we need to scaffold those students and their families as much as they can. And I am talking now to language teachers, because we have another drawback to consider. Many parents do not speak the language that we teach. That's something extra. And something that we teachers have to confess that sometimes we forget about is that parents are not teachers. Sometimes they do not lack goodwill. Do you know what they lack? They lack teaching skills. When I talk to mothers of my kids' partners, you know what they tell me? Oh, you do that because you're a teacher. You know how to help them because you're a teacher. And every time they tell me that, I say, that is so true. We know how. They might not know how. Do you know what they do in many countries? They educate parents as well, because they understand that if parents know how to help, the teaching and the learning will be more effective. So in these quarantine times, and to avoid the situation we have there on the screen, we need to remember that parents are not teachers, and we need to help them accompany their kids. What cannot happen with any homework is that the parent becomes the teacher. And I always say this in a funny tone, but many times I had to teach my young kids, and all the pedagogy that I have studied, it doesn't work at home. It doesn't work at home. It works with other people's kids. With my own kids, I really lose it. And you all know what I'm talking about, right? So Parents are not supposed to be the teachers. They are supposed to accompany their kids during homework. That is why having clarity with the purpose of the homework, both for the students and the parents, is mandatory. And if parents are expected to help, because many times we expect them to help, it's really very important that they know how. It's really very important that they know how. So remember, students shouldn't be puzzled. They cannot receive the homework and say, what am I expected to do here? Because when students are puzzled, do you know who they resort to? They resort to their parents, of course. And what do you think will happen when they resort to their parents? Well, there are many chances that the ones who will be puzzled as well are the parents. So puzzled plus puzzled equals chaos. So students are not supposed to be puzzled. They need to know how to proceed. As I mentioned before, something we need to remember is that our students and their families are undergoing a rough emotional time. We are all more sensitive. We are in lockdown. We cannot see our relatives and our friends. And there was a time when we used to think, oh, how much I'd love to stay at home for so many days. Now we value how much we would like to meet our friends and hug and go out, and none of that is happening. So emotionally, we are all so sensitive. We need to remember this. So when it comes to emotions, homework cannot spark fire. Students need to gain confidence as they do homework. That's the whole point of homework, not the opposite. If we send homework to make students feel that they don't know or that they cannot do anything, well, it's then very difficult to turn that upside down. And of course, and this is one of the things that I always say about homework, is that ideally, homework is meant to be done autonomously by the child. Autonomously. I can cope with it. My own pace, my own way, but I will end up with an I can feeling. There's nothing better for a parent than to see that your kids can cope with homework autonomously. All of you teachers who are parents know what I'm talking about. When your kids say, I've got homework to do, and you tell them, do you need any help? And they say, oh, that's okay, I can cope with it. There's nothing better than that feeling. So, something that I mentioned before, but I need to restate, is that homework is more effective when the focus is on the quality as opposed to the quantity. And in quarantine times, this can be something dangerous. They used to come to school, how many hours? 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours? Oh, we have to send them that amount of hours homework. Be careful with that. It's not about quantity. We sometimes send them so much homework that it ends up being counterproductive. So let us focus a little bit more on the quality more than the quantity. And today, we're going to start taking a look at this, and in the subsequent modules, we will be exploring this as well, how to focus on the quality. What does it mean to plan high quality tasks? And the challenge is, how can I do that remotely when I haven't had the chance to give a class? And this has been even worse because we haven't had the chance to get to know our students. This all started simultaneously with the beginning of classes. So it's fair to say that we don't even know them. So if we take all these things into consideration, As I said before, I think we are absolutely on the right track to planning effective remote tasks. Time to move on. Thank you.